Order, please. This regular meeting of the Joshua Basin Water District Board of Directors for June 4, 2025 is now in session at 5:03. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is just there. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you much. Determination of a quorum. General Manager Johnson, a roll call, please. Present.
Vice President Hewell.
Present.
Director Fick.
Here.
Director Jarlsberg.
Here.
Director Short.
Here. Thank you very much. All directors are present in the boardroom. There is no request for remote participation. We have a quorum. Approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve this evening's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those saying no. Motion approved. Public comment time. This designated time is for members of the public to provide comments on any district related matter, whether appearing on the agenda or not. Under provision of the Brown Act, the board is prohibited from taking action on items not listed on the agenda. At the discretion of the board president, comments on a particular agendized item may be deferred until that item is heard. Is there any public comment? General Manager Johnson, is there written, electronic, or voicemail public comment?
None to my knowledge.
Thank you very much. Public comment time is now closed. Consent calendar. Consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial to be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. If a board member would like an item handled separately, it will be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. We have one item on the consent calendar. It is the special board meeting minutes, draft minutes for May 22. Anyone want to remove this item from the consent calendar or discussion?
I would like to visit the director's comments, my director's comments in the minutes.
Very well. And in which case we have no items on the consent calendar. Item number 6 would be 5A, which would be the draft minutes special board meeting, May 22, 2025. Director comments, Director Fick.
Director Fick, the last sentence,
Page.
page 6. I'll let you catch up to page 6. Fick mentioned that the highlight was the last luncheon where he sat with someone from the Monterey County Water District and Kathy Green, president of the Aqua.
That's right.
Oh. That's noted.
Thank you. That's it.
Is there a motion to approve item number 6, which is the minutes? A motion?
I'll motion.
Second.
I'll second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Now we get into the meat of the matter here. And B, 24-25 revised budget and 25-26 proposed budget. General Manager Johnson, Director of Finance and Roman, and
Why didn't we do A? Look, we're skipping A? A, vacancy report and compliance.
is my page stuck together?
You might have missed A on your, there it is, right there.
My pages were stuck
I
together.
think we're, okay.
Yeah, I was panicking.
Okay.
Oh, this is even more fun. Vacancy report in compliance with AB 25-661. Do I have to announce that this is a public hearing matter?
So we'll first give you the staff reports and then answer any questions. You'll open up a hearing. Questions, you'll take those questions, then you'll close the hearing. The first staff report, then board questions and hearing.
Yeah, that's written into the.
You got it, you got it.
That's okay. Can help you along.
So it's your turn?
Yes, sir.
Fire away.
All right.
I'll turn on my turn.
So this is a brand new item. Correctly, because a gift from the state of California. AB 2561 is a vacancy report, and we have to be in compliance and provide this report each year prior to the budget adoption. So that's what we're seeing today. This report gives an analysis of vacant positions that were funded yet not filled in the previous fiscal year. One of the items that was probably not considered when this bill went through is that we're talking about the past and not the future. So keep that in mind when we're talking about this. So this report covers last year. We have the Director of Operations position that is a current interim placement, but recruitment is underway. Maintenance Supervisor vacant for 12 months while we were reorganizing. Production Supervisor has been vacant for 5 months during reorganization. Water Production Operator vacant for production operator vacant for 6 months during reorganization. We had several other positions funded in 2025 that remain unfilled due to this reorganization. And these positions will be officially unfunded upon adoption of the revised 24-25 budgets and are not included in the 25-26 budget. So we've had some positive and challenging impacts from these vacant positions. One of the positives is reorganization. This year, as you know, we've hired an interim director of ops, Ray Polish, and one of the roles that he was playing is to look at this, realignment of the positions and operations. And having these vacancies allowed us to do that and to move on a restructure out there, which was presented in the last budget workshop. And we'll talk about it a little bit more tonight during the budget. Some of the challenges include increased workload, extended hiring timelines, and adjusted project timelines. We put out a lot of efforts to fill vacancies. We've advertised from the moon and back on different platforms, these are Water Jobs, Public CEO, Waterwise Pro, and many, many more. Our HR representative, Adriana, has attended local career fairs, has discussions with staffing agencies. We've reevaluated the minimum qualifications on the open positions and reorganized to improve efficiency. Some of the recruitment barriers that we have here include a talent shortage, especially in our remote area, competition with neighboring agencies, and those required certifications that the roles require, especially in our operations department. Some of our retention and recruitment efforts include adjustments to the benefits packages to improve competitiveness, career development, tuition and training reimbursement, compensation that's competitive along with benefits, employee recognition, longevity pay, performance feedback, and a great work-life balance work week of 410, plus a lot more. The staff will continue efforts to fill these vacancies, monitor recruitment trends, and report annually in compliance with AB 2561. And happy to take any questions.
Number 2 is board questions. Vice President Doolittle.
One, I was looking at what this bill required, yet another mandate, and I understand you guys, this is the first time we've done it, but it seems like it wanted a list of funded full-time vacant positions, the duration, the impact on service delivery, and the explanation of vacancy and recruitment efforts. So what's the impact on service delivery? That seems to be missing from this.
Okay, I think I did address that.
Oh, okay.
And
It wasn't in the table, so I was just.
yeah, it was, you're correct. It was not.
That's
So no impact on service.
okay, all right, okay.
On service delivery.
Impact on staff.
Impact on staff.
Okay.
Impact on project timelines. That's
Okay, right.
one, we know that.
Yeah.
Increased workloads, of course, increased taking on call when people are not here. And the timelines for hiring have been very tough just because the finding qualified individuals in our area has been more of a challenge than ever, especially since COVID. And, in part is to the rising housing costs in our location. We're not as we're not as attractive as we once were for people to move here from the big city because they're not getting as much bang for their buck when it comes to housing.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge. It used to be a real big mechanism to get people here. They can sell their very expensive house in the Inland Empire and move out to the desert like they've always wanted to and get a house for relatively inexpensive. And that's just not the case, the way it used to be. So I think that's a big one. We're also faced with what is called, it's called a couple different things, but the silver tsunami. So a lot of retirees out there and not a lot of folks wanting to fill in those really challenging roles. So and that's across the water industry altogether. It's something I've heard since I started at this district, and it's something we're still experiencing.
Yeah, I think the board, and we'll be addressing a little bit of trying to make our recruitment a little sweeter for bringing people in. I know that this is difficult for the staff, particularly like the director of operations or the maintenance supervisor or the production supervisor, because these supervisors, you want to start reporting to your boss. You know what I mean? You don't want to report to,
Me.
yeah. Or someone who's temporary or whatever. Anyway, okay, that's all from me.
Perfect.
One, I want to congratulate our general manager for bringing in fresh eyes. Ray, the interim director of operations, has an overview of the area and a distant idea of what this district used to be, and coming in and restructuring it the way it has and adapting to our current conditions was a very good move.
Yes.
And so my question would be, how many employees do we have now, and how many will we have, say, about 6 months from now?
So fully staffed with the new budget being adopted will be 25, and currently we are at 20.
20. Oh. Okay. Okay, that's all I have.
Director Jarlsberg.
Yeah, I don't have much. I think what questions I might have had, my fellow directors have asked. I'm kind of interested why they might have instituted this bill. Do you have any sense of that?
Some intent behind it mostly has to do with union representation. And
Okay. I think it's probably a good thing. I mean, in a sense,
I
to
don't
kind of
think
keep an eye on this.
I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I'd
Yeah.
like to be able to be transparent and report on it.
Yeah.
One of the things I don't feel like they thought through is that we're reporting past data.
Right.
And what happened in the past is not necessarily what's going to happen for our future. So you're looking at this, and then next year we'll be looking at this year. So I'd like to talk about what we're doing next. And then this bill can.
Well, maybe that'll be Bill 2562.
Let's not. Let's say we did.
Okay, thank you.
Director Short.
No questions.
Citizens Advisory Chair David Carrillo, do you have any comments on this report?
I think it would be good to have it would allow people to work and not overwork themselves, especially coming in the summer months and stuff. More eyes, more hands goes a longer way.
Thank you. Well, in a way, there is an optimism to it too, in that it provides clarity as to exactly what our situation is. It is a snapshot, because everybody's working to improve it in terms of staffing. But I kind of enjoyed looking at it. Is there any other public comment on this thing?
So now you'll need to open up
The thing here. Okay, the public hearing on this matter, which is the vacancy report in compliance with or the AB 2561 is now open. Do we have any public comment on that? There's nothing further. Close public hearing. And is there a motion from the board to receive and file this report?
So moved.
I'll second.
General Manager Johnson, a roll call, please.
President Fleming,
Aye.
Vice President Doolittle,
Yes.
Director Fitt,
Yes.
Director Jarlsberg.
Yes.
Director Short.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Carried. And now. Item B, the 24-25 revised budget and the 25-26 proposed budget. General Manager Johnson.
Very good. Thank you again. As you know, we've had, the month of May has been our budget workshop month. We've presented many scenarios and variations of the budget. And tonight we're bringing you a finalized version of that based on all of those conversations. And I'm going to hand it off to Director of Finance, Ian Rowland.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening. I'm going to bring up a PowerPoint here and slow it along. As Sarah said, we've gone through a process all throughout May. We had the first board workshop, a May 22nd board workshop, and then today, of course, and prior to that, we had multiple meetings among the staff to develop the proposed budgets. And this budget is due to the county by August 30th.
Can you put it in presentation mode?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. So used to working like this. Okay. Better. So yeah, due to the county by August 30th, 2 months after the end of the fiscal year. We'll look a little bit at our combined budget. This is the starting with the revenues coming in at $12,216,017.50. That is total revenues. Total operating expenses at $9,590,244.40. And that includes $8.8 million of operating expenses versus the $8.9879 million of operating revenues. So we want those operating expenses not to exceed the operating revenues, and they do not. So that is, that's good. We also have in this combined budget, our capital budget coming in with $2.3 million for pipeline work and $2.596 million for other capital work. And we'll get into that, some of that detail a little bit later. Total budget, including capital, $14,486,244.40. And that brings us in with a drawdown of reserves, $2,270,226.90. So that is an intentional drawdown that we are planning for this year, which will allow us to do quite a few projects with capital work. Questions on that page before I move on? All right, here's just a graph of that same information that I just presented. Now I have a graph for you of the operating expenses by department. So you can see where each department comes in compared to the others in terms of the percentage of cost. And production here is our largest department, 29%, followed by, I believe, distribution. Yeah, distribution. And then we have administration, finance. Trying to go in order here. I should have made a list. This is up there too. So that is our operating expense breakdown by department. And then we have, this is something that was requested. And so I did, so this total budget expenses, this includes our capital budget, so operating and capital. So you can see what I've outlined here in yellow. This is all operations. So this includes our capital budget and our distribution and production departments. So again, 66% operations in this budget.
And then the other side is what?
The other side is all of the operating expenses. So we have,
But that's operating expenses and operations. So what do you call it as opposite to operations?
well, operations is, the operating budget is different from operations, which is confusing, yes.
Okay.
Operations is our production and distribution department and our capital work. But the capital is separate from the operating budget. So this is essentially what I have here in this red or orange and this blue is capital, these two triangles here, these slices. And then this darker blue is the production operating department. And then the distribution operating department down here in this red. But altogether, everything related to the operations of the district, the direct operations of the district is 66%. The rest of these slices are things like customer service, administration, finance, HR, bonds, loans, and standbys, reports, studies, and plans, and a little bit of leftover operating expenses related to the pipeline program that are non-capital. Questions about this?
The electrical costs, are they shared in the distribution? Or is all the electrical in the production?
The electrical's in production. Yes,
Just production.
the power for pumping is all in the production department.
So the distribution doesn't have pumping?
No,
No, so your production department is your heart. And then the distribution is your veins, so the heart, most of the power is to pull that water out of the ground.
So I was thinking of the little booster plants southwest.
Still part of production, and some of it's so nominal, does it make sense to separate?
other questions?
Was there a question from the public?
I have a.
I was sorry for being late, you guys. I was asked by my friends to come with them today. We wanted to talk or ask about the whole pipeline pipeline program, because it's like a residential issue, but it's not a residential issue. We just pipeline program stuff. Can you guys talk about that? We're gonna sit back and listen because you may answer the questions as you go over your PowerPoints. I just wanted to let you know why we're here.
Did you want to address something there?
I'm not certain what the questions are, but I can give you a little bit of an idea of probably what you saw on these staff reports.
It's like a whole fluctuation of pressure. It's causing their pipes to constantly leak and explode. And it's been going on for 15 years now. And
Have
yeah,
you come to customer service and let us know about this issue so we could come and do?
over the past 15 years, yeah.
We have, okay.
And today we were just discussing it, because he got a $500 bill, and he said, let's go to the board, and we researched it, you guys are having a meeting, so we're here today.
Well, welcome. We're glad you're here.
So I guess that's probably a different question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay, I think so. Okay, I'll move on to this for now.
I would say we'll get through the budget and then can we address that after we come out of the budget hearing?
well, I guess maybe the question, we're not in a hearing,
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
we're not.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
but what we could do is possibly answer a question and then we can go back to the budget, or if you
You
want to
guys can just
stay.
kind of keep on going, focus how you guys are doing, we'll sit back, this is really interesting.
Okay.
I know that we're getting a lot from it.
But
Okay.
we're happy to have you here too.
All right, so the salaries portion of the operating budget. I've got a summary here for us to review, and you can see from the 24-25. Can you see that? Sorry. The top, the header here, sorry, it's hidden on my screen. But the 24-25 budget, the original and the revised, and the 25-26 here on the right, you can see the difference between the two. The original 24-25 and the 25-26 proposed, we have seen a drop of $289,098 from that 24-25 original to the new proposed budget, or about 8%. That's in the salaries and benefit salaries, so as in compensated leave salary. The other benefits also saw a drop in cost from 2024-25 original to 25-26 proposed. And in total salary benefits and other benefits saw a drop of over $650,000 and 12%. So that is reflective of those positions that have been unfunded. And then we have a salary comparison here, which again compares between 24-25 original and the 25-26 proposed. And our percentage of revenue, so the percentage of salaries compared with revenue, has decreased from 48.5% to 37.62%. So that's a nice, and puts us, actually, Sarah has been doing some, had some discussions with other general managers and puts us a little bit more in line with some of the other districts. Questions here?
You mean some of the other districts locally? Or the right size, the same, similar size?
Similar size.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And where's this 48% on this sheet? I couldn't find it. I'm looking at page 23.
It's.
Oh, I should be on page 25.
26.
Oh, okay. Oh, there it is. Nice and big and highlighted. Okay, got
Yeah,
it.
they're a little hard to spot, but.
Okay.
And then we have on the next slide, a table of the same salaries by department so that you can see how those are distributed among the various departments. Again, with distribution being the highest in terms of salary, the production department is the highest department in terms of overall cost. But in terms of salaries, distribution will have the largest salaries. Then we have customer service for the field, which is our field service techs and customer service in the office. Administration salary, board of directors salary, and regulatory and development salary, which is one that we just carved out this year from the administrative salaries last year. And then we have finance and human resources, and then a small little correction for the aides.
Yeah, and then when we're hiring this awards person, no, but what's the awards salary? I mean, why are we putting that like that? What's that about?
That is a program that we have for recognition. I don't know if you'd like to speak to.
I'm just wondering why it's in its own call. I mean, why is it on here? And why is it in sal? Because it's, oh, I see. That's
Yeah,
why.
and it
That's the
can
only
go
reason why.
to
Okay.
Anybody in any department.
All right.
Yeah.
And then where would our GM salary fall on this in here? Is it distributed over it? Or-
Yeah, so
Okay.
actually, I mentioned in or several positions, excuse me, are distributed among multiple departments. So the GM is actually in administration, but some of the other positions. So there is a lot of that because we wear so many hats as individual employees here. Other questions? So let's get into the capital budget. So this is kind of where it gets more interesting. At the very top here, we have our line budget, which is 2.2 million for the Belmont Phase 2 pipe install, 100,000 for a center pipe placement of 660 linear feet. Let me zoom in a little bit. So that's a total of 2.3 million dedicated to our pipeline replacement this year. Remember that our rate study only carves out about $2 million for all capital work. And so here we have 2.3 million for pipeline alone. And when we look at our capital other, these are things like our E21 reservoir upgrade, our well 15 repair rehab. We have a A1 road rehab.
What page are you looking at?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can't find you.
27.
27. Okay. All right, thank you.
27. I know I lost, I lost that slide.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that one. All right. So we have a variety of different projects here. We can talk about them a little bit more on the next page, on the next slide. Total here for capital other, 2.596 million. So again, remember, this total of 4.896 million is significantly more than what the rate study carves out for capital work. And this is, again, how we're dipping into our reserves and doing an intentional drawdown. So showing that at the very bottom, 2.27 million in drawdown after these capital projects are funded.
I would just like to say our reserves are like our savings in a way. So just sharing that.
A little more information on the capital budget. This is our non-pipeline budget, E21 reservoir upgrade, 871,000, well 15 repair and rehab, 175,000 and 25-26. There's additional cost in 24-25 on that. A1 road rehab, 200,000. C2B recoding engineering, so just the engineering portion for that project at 50,000. G-Boosters electrical panel, 40,000, electrical schematic drawings, 50,000. Well 10 motor control panel for 150,000. And we, at the interim director of ops request, we also included an emergency repairs account for 150,000 that could be used if there is something that's unforeseen that comes up. We also have vehicles, equipment, and other tech items. So we have a dump truck for 200,000 and an equipment trailer for 50,000. And I know that that primarily relates to being able to transport the equipment to sites. We have an emergency generator replacement here at the admin office for 75,000. SCADA security upgrades at 4 sites for 75,000. An inventory cage for the shop to better control the inventory. And Chromium startup costs, which could be capital or operating, we don't know. That's 500,000 for that, and totaling 2.596 million. Questions there before we move on to the pipeline?
I have a couple of questions. So when you say the Chromium could be capital or operations, well, it's likely to be operations, right? Because we're unlikely to start purchasing stuff. Wouldn't that be the capital?
Likely to be capital,
It'd likely to be capital
Yes.
because,
because we have to install the treatment facilities.
oh, I thought the 500K would just be like for reports and, or,
So
searching.
some of it could be operations.
Okay,
You're
that's
doing,
good.
yes.
Okay.
There's probably a mix.
We're hoping that we can get,
Majority would be.
okay,
Should
good.
be, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, there are some preliminary items that could be included with capital.
Okay.
I think we'll see a mix in that cost.
And then on another topic yesterday, actually it was the third I attended. Was that yesterday? I attended a presentation training, how special districts can find low-cost financing for energy projects. And obviously it was a little bit more of a going green kind of focus, but it mentioned fuel cells or linear generators. And then it made me think about this generator that we're buying, 75K, and if whether or not we considered alternatives to a gas-based, I'm assuming this is a gas-based generator.
Gas or gasoline?
Gasoline, yeah, gasoline. So did we?
We did not consider alternatives to it because it's a replacement, but we do have an exploratory call next week with Mojave Desert Air Quality Management District.
Oh, good.
With hopeful that maybe they have a grant for that generator.
Okay, great. That's such great news. Wow, what a comeback, what a comeback. All right.
I did yet, but.
Okay, great. All right, okay, great. Thank you. That's all from me.
Questions?
Comment. Have you looked into like biofuels? Azola is amazing. You can use that algae and it's amazing for the world. So if you want to just like write that down, Azola.
Azola?
It's a
Oh,
water fern. It's amazing.
okay.
It's very, very clean. It's good for the earth.
AZOLA.
AZOLLA. Azola, it's a 7-day full bloom cycle. You can feed it to your livestock. They produce more eggs, better milk. You can make a biofuel out of it, and you can also use it as a fertilizer. The 7-day full bloom cycle is amazing. A little bit of water.
All right, I'll move on to the pipeline replacement program. So within our capital budget, we are looking to outsource our pipeline work this year for Belmont Phase 2, about 16,000 linear feet at 2.2 million. Early information indicates that our internal costs may actually be higher than using an outside vendor, so a recommendation is to outsource that. And we do have also a tiny little project in there for 100,000. It's at Center and Center Street. I don't know, Center Drive, is it Center Street?
That's what we're on.
Oh, okay. And so we have a pipeline replacement proposed there for 660 linear feet.
They're on to you guys.
There you go. And so total there is 2.3 million. And questions?
Just a wording thing. I just think I'm saying and free up employee time.
Yeah,
That makes it sound like they're gonna be sitting around, and I know they're not. So I think maybe just make it more, some word about efficiency or something like that. They're gonna be playing checkers.
no.
I know time.
No, I think mostly this was, there was a lot of unforeseen or unanticipated consequences with the pipeline, the internal pipeline program. And I think that it had impacts on HR hiring, it had impacts on finance. And so we're just anticipating that, we're going to get a little bit of that time back, and we certainly need it.
Yeah.
Would this be a time to talk about Center Street pipe issues?
Absolutely, if you'd like to.
Would it?
I think you would have to be in public comment, and you'd have to read open public comment after this.
Oh, okay.
Okay. We'll move on to projected reserve usage and balances. So these are the specific reserve funds and the projects we can use those funds for. So in 24-25, we have just a few little ones under reports. We do have a large amount under meter replacement, 350,000. That'll really wrap up our meter replacement program. But in 25-26, although the program will be done, we still need to make some adjustments out of this reserve fund related to early usage of that funding. In 25-26, we have quite a bit in the area of reports and studies that are qualified for the reports and studies reserve. So 490,000 there that we can draw out of the reports and studies reserve. We have equipment and technology, to only 75,000 there for that admin emergency generator. And then the remainder of the capital will come out of the capital replacement fund. And I did make a note here. I mentioned this a couple of times, I think, but I just wanted to note again that the final balance in the meter replacement reserve will be brought to the board to be reallocated elsewhere to one of the other reserves, or if the board should desire to keep it in that reserve for future use, that certainly is an option as well. And then I have the projected reserve balances, so you can see where the reserve balances are anticipated to be at the end of the 25-26 budget year. Totaling, I have a total of, I have this on another slide, 23. I'll give you the total when we get to that slide. Questions there before we move on?
I have a question about the blue lines. The smallest one building, that's
So we do have a tiny building reserve fund left over. We need to address that
I
when
thought we did something with that.
we've talked about it a few times.
Oh, okay.
We officially done anything. We need to revise the reserve.
Oh, okay.
Just for our, if I just quickly say for our guests here, we have to keep 6 months of money on hand in case there's an emergency or anything to run our operations. So that's why you see these big amounts of money. That's why we have it, because it's reserved. We have some reserve for emergencies. We have some reserve for 6 months in case there's an emergency, and we're spending our emergency, but we still have to have money for operations.
Right, and we
Sure.
have about 5,692,000 in legally restricted reserves as well. So we're not able to spend that funding at all. That is related to capacity charges, restricted for future growth or expansion, and also customer deposits and things like that. So
On the emergency capital, was that one time, was that 2 million, or was it figured out to be 2 million point four?
it was 2 million. And then when we unrestricted some funding related to one of the pipeline projects, we actually brought in additional funds there. And now that is one of the funds that we've moved over to camp. And so that fund specifically is earning interest. And so that's why that balance is going up, and it's not the number anymore that you would be remembering. It's increasing.
That's good.
All right. Then we had, I won't go into this too much because the board did have a thought on this in our last meeting, but resumption of the approved rate study rates. We, in our discussions, came to the consensus, and when I say we, I guess I should say the board, decided that they were leaning towards this scenario one, which would provide 6 months of relief to the ratepayers and put the 25-26 rates in place as of July 2025 instead of they were supposed to be in place in January. And instead we're looking at July. Questions there before I move on?
And will there be something in the director reports, the general managers report about any messaging relating to that rate? These rate things that are happening, because we talked about that.
I hadn't planned on it, but we have some internal talks about the
Okay.
messaging that we're going to be doing.
Okay.
I was kind of curious on this reports and studies thing. It kind of came up, I encountered some of the guys that would be Jake and Justin in the field, I think it was yesterday. Of his track. And they were doing the testing of the valves and all that. With the big truck with the thing, the vacuum and all that stuff that we did demo of out here that one day. And so I was wondering, because it was said, I mean, that the results of their testing of the valves and the torque specifications and all sorts of stuff like that, that this stuff goes to this information goes to the state. And so it's required, therefore, by the state. We wouldn't do it if it wasn't required. And so I don't necessarily see that in the reports and studies, that specific activity. I assume we have thousands of these valves that have to be checked. So I was wondering, there they are out there. There are these two people with a big truck and they're doing all this kind of stuff. So is that cost reflected in reports and studies, or is that separate in one of their production or?
It would actually be under distribution in mainline and leak repair. That's where that type of work is captured. Reports and studies are really just big, well, sometimes they're small. I mean, we have a backflow project that is a smaller one, but usually they're larger projects and not ongoing, not routine reporting that we have to do every month or every year. They're usually one time or every 5 years, that type of thing. So everything that we're doing on a daily basis, our valve maintenance, our valve exercising, any maintenance on the system, they go into those specific maintenance accounts within the general ledger. So within that department.
It's a matter of how you look at it. It's a maintenance thing rather than the cost of making the report.
Right.
Which I assume would be cost generated inside this building. That would be the cost, or engineering maybe too would be, depending on what the
reporting, the actual reporting.
Oh.
Well, yeah, and we do reporting on our water production as well. There's a lot of reporting that happens that is not a cost captured in reports and studies. They're just captured in regular routine maintenance for the district once they become a routine item, essentially. I think when they're a new initiative, they're in reports and studies, or if it's one of the big reports that is required to be done every 5 years or so, that you'll see them in reports and studies. Otherwise, the smaller ones, the compliance, they're within the maintenance accounts.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so let's move into our cash balances a little bit here. So we saw the projections for our individual reserves. Our total projected cash balances are anticipated to be $923,198.84 as of 6/30/26. And that does include all of those reserves that we saw individually earlier on the graph. Questions about the projected cash balances?
Hearing none.
So the 2-year impact here, because we have in the 24-25 revised budget, anticipated net revenues of $2,030,463. And in the 25-26 proposed budget, the drawdown of $2,270,227. The two together, one being a positive and one being a negative, one being a surplus and one being a deficit, amount to $239,764, which is actually a decrease to our cash reserve balances. And that brings the cash reserve balances down to $22,923,199 by 6/30/26. And of that, $17,231,067 is unrestricted. Let me come back to this prior page here. With the cash balances, $17,231,066 unrestricted, and legally restricted $5,692,132 legally restricted portion.
Unrestricted, but board designated.
Well, that
all have it
is
together on the
actually
plan.
legally restricted. The rest is designated.
Right,
By the
just want to
board.
clarify that. Not just sitting there and there's a plan for it.
Yes, it's all designated. And the operating and cash flow reserves are projected to cover 6 months of operating expenses, as Vice President Doolittle had mentioned earlier. Then we have that required by our reserve policy, and so we are meeting that requirement. Questions? I know I'm going through this quickly and we're almost done. We've had so much conversation about this, so feel free, to ask any additional questions. I'm happy to answer them, but I will get to the staff recommendation then. So staff recommends approving the revised budget for fiscal year 24-25 and the proposed budget for fiscal year 25-26. Additionally, staff recommends authorizing the resumption of previously approved rate study adjustments effective July 1st, 2025. Take any other questions?
Anything further from the board?
I'd be curious on the balance between camp, how on that, because one has a long 100-day interest rate and one has, camp might have two versions.
They do. They have two, and we're in the one that's similar to LAIF. And the rates are actually very similar at this point between the two, but we actually put specific funds into LAIF or into camp, excuse me. So we put in the wastewater capacity and the emergency fund into camp. That is what we proposed during the meeting where it was decided to move some of the funds to camp. And so we have those two specific funds in there now.
So approximately how many millions is camp?
5.5 or 6. Yeah, about 5.5 or 6 million.
Okay, well, the way things are going, a longer extension of the interest is probably better.
Yeah, so right now, the way that the market is moving, we're not at the most advantageous point because we are seeing decreases in interest rates, but they are very, very similar, the two right now. LAIF is a little lower, but they're not huge differences, so.
It's the point of interest. LAIF is a local agency investment fund, and it's something that's provided by and administered by the state of California. In other words, the state of California is a treasury,
I think it's the treasurer.
Fiona Ma or somebody up there. We can't put too much money into banking because there's a $200,000 limit on the amount you can have in an account. So we have a modest account over here in Yucca Valley. And the rest of it is either invested through LAIF or through this camp, which is sort of a private investment
It's a
fund.
joint powers authority.
There,
California
JBWD.
Joint Powers Authority.
And so the idea is that investing it through the state, it's, they've got a good reputation, sort of, it's government, so it's conservative. We're investing your money thoughtfully so we can get more interest income, more earnings from having the money invested through these two organizations than we would by banking it. And so that's what these things are that we're talking about here. And we like comparing the two to see if maybe we should go one way or the other with our funds to squeeze as much income out of these investment things as possible. And they're also, LAIF will invest in very secure, safe things. It's not insured.
No, it's not.
But they invest in safe things. So that's what all this stuff. Just
We'll
want
be smart with our money.
Yeah, and also LAIF is easily accessible. The money in LAIF is easily accessible if needed.
same day or next day, that kind of a thing. Kathleen Radnich.
A question, with the intentional drawdown of the reserves, which I have been part of all that, and I know all the reasons why. With our hazard mitigation plan and all the studies that were done, not the 6 months that we have to have by law, but our other emergency monies, have they been hit with this drawdown, or are we flush where we should be according to the recommendations of our hazard mitigation plan?
Yeah, yes, I think we are starting to standing with all of those specific designated reserves, such as the emergency capital replacement reserve. Right now, we have a balance that is higher in the cash flow reserve than what is required to be in there. And so anything that well, yes, we could shift it. The board could do that. But anything that we are currently having to draw down would come out of that cash flow reserve at this. Yeah, so we're good.
And a side note, the earthquake in 92 cost us $1 million here to do the repairs, including one of the tanks. This one, I think. And that kind of damage, if it was done today, would be over $2 million in damage. So we have to have money on hand. FEMA, which you always hear about when disasters happen, FEMA is a reimbursing organization. You already have to spend the money making your repairs and recovering and stuff, and then apply to FEMA for reimbursement. So we must have lots of money on hand because we don't know what the extent of the damage would be here when San Andreas goes. And it is a when, it's not an if.
And let us hope FEMA is still around.
So anyway, that just, you folks are new here and we don't know how smart you are about water stuff. So we're just trying to explain some of this.
Excited you're here and we can explain it.
Yeah, truth.
So do we have any more public comment? Citizen Advisory Council Chair, David Carrillo, do you have anything?
No. Looks like it's time to.
Get a new budget.
Yeah.
So hearing nothing further, is there a motion from the board to approve the 24-25 revised budget and the 25-26 proposed budget? Please.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
General Manager Johnson, a roll call, please.
President Flynn,
Aye.
Vice President Doolittle,
Aye.
Director Fick,
Yes.
Director Jarlsberg,
Yes.
Director Short.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Motion carried. By the way, there were two other meetings, public meetings that we had on all of this stuff. And we've been talking about this stuff for something like 6 hours, not counting what we did today. So we've gone through this stuff really thoroughly for you.
One point of clarification, I don't think the entire action was read in the motions. I think that probably needs to be moved up.
Where is it?
Page 2 of the agenda, B.
It felt funny.
No, it's back, it's back.
Back. No, it's
Oh,
it's in this.
Did the 2 years,
You
but
just did the revised budget, but not the fiscal year 25-26 budget and the resumption of rates. So the whole
It's a
action.
resumption of rates, that's what I'm asking. So is there a motion to improve that?
Revised budget
Right there.
for 24-25, the budget for fiscal year 25-26, and the resumption of rates.
Still a go?
I think you have to read it. Yeah, do it over.
We're just folks up there, you know.
Is there a motion to approve the revised budget?
I'll just read it.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve the revised budget for fiscal year 24-25 and the proposed budget for fiscal year 25-26? Additionally, authorize the resumption of previously approved rate study adjustments effective July 1, 2025.
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
I'll second it.
roll call, please.
President Sloan,
Aye.
Vice President Doolittle,
Aye.
Director Pick,
Yes.
Director Charlesborough,
Yes,
Director Short.
Yes.
Motion carried.
So now do we want to take a break for the public comment?
So we can reopen public comment if you like.
Public comment time.
I'm gonna take your lead and I'm gonna read what I wrote. That's okay.
Would you mind please taking the lectern, stating your name?
And just pull the mic up to you. You're a little closer to you. It's pointed down right now. But it's fine if you read what you wrote.
It's under 3 minutes.
Okay.
I'm Tina Tinker. Hi. Okay, so. We're reaching out to you to formally address the ongoing issues related to the water service at the residence. What is it, center, right? On center. At the residence, and a request for financial assistance in managing my recent water bill of $500. Over the past 15 years, recurring leaks in the street side water pipes have resulted in persistent fluctuation in water pressure, posing both financial and operational challenges. In an effort to mitigate these issues, I have installed a water pressure regulator at the meter. However, the concerns persist. As a Social Security recipient, that's not me, that's I rely on a fixed income to cover essential expenses. Two retired residents and long-term Joshua Tree natives also face similar financial constraints. With 4 small pets under my care, every dollar is allotted toward living necessities before my Social Security funds are even arrive. The continued impact of these infrastructure challenges is placing an undue financial burden on me and my household. I respectfully request to be considered for the enrollment in your assistance program, as well as thorough review of the recurring water pressure and leakage issues affecting my service. Any measures your office can implement to improve the reliability of water delivery and alleviate my financial strain would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
if you could spell your name and also spell the name of the person you're speaking on behalf.
I'm Tina, Tina, Tinker, Tinker. And on behalf of these 2 gentlemen, they can do their own names. Would you like that? Or-
Sure. But it should be in the record.
Okay, so. Dave,
Yeah. Okay, yeah,
and your last name,
Peterson,
Peterson, Peter.
again,
And
Rick
Rick, your last name,
Chipotle,
Tripoto, like tripod, TRIP.
right,
Spell it.
ODO.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So would you mind sharing your address after? So it's not on the.
Yeah.
David will have a chat with you outside of the meeting, and we will help you with your account. Okay, give some look at this, see what you qualify for and see what's going on at your property.
Thank you.
There's laws about what we can address up here, and there has been no agendized notice to the public that we were going to speak about such an issue, so we up here now can't say anything, really.
Except good luck. And
Thank you.
I know things will be better.
And the board does really care after that.
Our board did just approve, they just increased 2 programs that we're look into.
Yeah.
To help you, so thank you so much.
And this is, oh, you got a sign right there. You know who he is.
What kind of pets, just because? Our dog looks like-
Dog lovers.
Like dogs that are, they're fearless, they will fight off coyotes. and mice.
Okay.
Well, very nice to meet you all again, and we'll be able to, thank you so much.
Any other public comment? The public comment time is now closed. I kind of believe in having some latitude since we get it's so rare that anybody comes in here that we give latitude. It's my opinion. Item C, employee compensation plan, general manager Sarah Johnson.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna solicit a little bit of help tonight from our HR generalist, Adriana, in just a moment. Every year, if you recall, for the past 3 years, we've been bringing the employee compensation back to the board to be looked at. And that's what we're doing again tonight. Employee compensation plan is very important for recruitment, retention, and for those very important supervisor positions that you all saw a little bit earlier for us to get qualified folks into our workforce. So Lisa, if you would start the PowerPoint, I appreciate it. You could share it through Zoom.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
it's on my screen here.
Thank you.
Here it is.
I want to thank Adriana for putting this together. She did a wonderful job. So we're going to kind of tag team on this a little bit, and I'll sprinkle in where necessary, and Adriana will do the same. All right, so this is our annual employee compensation survey and plan for 25-26. Next slide, please. We poll all of the employees and ask them what is important to them and what compensation items they prefer, and where they feel their compensation is and compared to other districts. And the survey says top 5 reasons our employees choose to work here. It's compensation and benefits, CalPERS, close to home, work-life balance, and the ability to learn and grow a new skill. This is interesting because that was no different from the previous year question. So we thought that those are obviously very strong reasons to work here. In regards to job satisfaction, our employees have 70% job satisfaction. And if you see in the green there, that average American worker has a 49% job satisfaction. So we're doing well above what the average American worker is. And then we're not too satisfied, we're pretty equal. So if there's, in comparison to the average American worker. And the 5 factors of job satisfaction that we have found through a source. Sorry, I couldn't read that far away. Top factors, workplace satisfaction survey.com is employee appreciation and respect, ability to have career progression, which is what you just approved in the budget that we just went through, adding some new positions and some lines of progression, work-life balance, and that's something that we do offer with the 410 work week, and positive culture and meaningful work. Anything you want to add, Adriana?
No, I think that was it.
Next slide, please. So 70%. Employee morale survey.
Some of these fonts are changing colors. Like
They
I
did
swear
change.
this one was white and the other one was black.
They did change.
Hmm.
We need the next slide. Okay. So employee morale and motivation survey results. These are some of the comments from our staff, and I'll be happy to have Adriana go through some of those.
So employees are happy and supported in their work environment, and they're more likely to be engaged and take pride in their work.
Now you're gonna have to let them all come back again.
So.
Too much fun.
I'm drawing on it.
Hit your back button.
Oh, good, they're there.
And then, of course, having happy employees that leads to improved productivity, increased job satisfaction, which positively impacts employee retention.
And the question that the employees were asked is the vibe of the workplace positive and motivating? And we had a 71% yes, positive and motivating, which again is above the average American worker. Next slide, please. Top 5 most important compensation plan items that employees chose was COLA, health benefit contributions, employee 457 contribution, longevity pay, and paid time off accruals. Next, please. Some surveys paraphrased, some survey comments paraphrased. Some folks have said, love my job and the people I work with. Cost of living increase and base pay and COLA increasing to keep up would be helpful. Interested in an increase to their 457 retirements. Implement a sustained performance award for those who are at top step of salary schedule, and more non-employee paid events to look forward to. So I think what that means is they like to have spouses come to events.
I thought it was movie coupons.
On the previous slide, one of the items that all the items that were chosen in compensation were the same from the previous year except for holidays. So I just wanted to point that out. So it still stays pretty consistent what people are interested in having. Next slide. So the proposal for the 25-26 compensation plan includes a COLA effective July 1 of 2.8%. And this follows the cost of living index that we as a district have chosen to follow for many, many moons before my time. 457 retirement employer match, increase it by $200 per year. This is important because many of the new employees are coming into the plan of CalPERS. It's called PEPRA. It's the new plan. And it is not as rich of a plan as the classic members, and not maybe incentivizing for folks to stay long-term because it's not quite as much. But if we give them diversification with multiple retirement income streams, it helps our retention. Sustained performance is new, and it would be effective calendar year 2026. And this is a program designed to recognize high-performing employees who have reached top steps. So if you remember, our salary schedule has 12 steps. Once an employee has reached top step, when they receive their evaluation from their supervisor for years and years afterwards, there's no increase except for a COLA. The COLA is approved. And it doesn't incentivize folks to continue performing high. So what this would do is allow the supervisor to provide the employee a 2.5 or 5% increase, which is what they would receive on the salary step schedule, but as a one-time bonus, and it's based on performance. The next item is an addition of a paid holiday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which the district did not recognize previously. And finally, there are some policy updates and maintenance of all other compensation plan items that are currently in place.
I just want to add, just so you guys know, that our 457 retirement is being utilized at 60% participation. And also for the Sustained Performance Award, right now, 25% of our employees are currently at their top step.
All right, next slide. That is the proposal on the plate for the board to consider. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Vice President Doolittle.
I have a couple of questions. Does our general manager fill this survey in?
I don't feel this.
Okay, I wondered. And then where you said the one-time annual sustained performance award, but that means only once a year. That doesn't, because the next year it could be done as well. Oh,
Yes,
right,
yes.
okay, because it looked a little confusing.
I understand.
The way it was written.
The policy is clearer than what you saw in
Okay.
PowerPoint, but each year when they receive their evaluation, they would be eligible based on performance to receive that sustained performance. And we stole this idea. It's not original. It came from another district. I'm gonna give them credit.
That's all for me.
That's at your discretion to just.
Just steal ideas. The best part about public sector work is being able to borrow from each other, is not really stealing. So, not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
Director Fick,
No questions.
Director Jarlsberg.
I had one that you didn't cover on the PowerPoint, the uniform allowance.
So in the compensation plan, you'll see there is one little phrase added to the administrative uniforms. It says administrative employees and board members. So board members would be eligible for the uniform allowance if they choose. It's voluntary, just like it is for admin.
Well, I have a question about it. It says, may voluntarily elect to receive an annual allowance of $130 per year, which breaks down to $5 per pay period. So I was wondering, if somebody starts from the middle of the year, does that start? Does the $5 per pay period start?
Starts.
You don't automatically get 130 no matter how long you've been there in a year.
So we do the orders once a year. Right now, I think we're doing in November-ish. So you would start seeing on.
Is it prorated from how long you've been employed or been a board member?
This one's not prorated because we can't give you half of a shirt. Purchase the whole shirt.
It's $130.
No, it's not.
A crop top.
It's not prorated. This particular one is not prorated. It would be when the person starts, they would be eligible for their benefit. Or a board member starts, they'd be eligible to enroll and receive their shirts. We help you with the ordering, we help you with the logoing, and then you just
Yeah.
receive these nicely done shirts.
Looking forward to it, actually.
But they are taxed, so that's what that $5 per pay period is. So
Oh,
you see
okay,
a deduction.
That
from
helps.
Your pay stub because it's a taxable benefit.
okay, even if you get the whole 130 at once?
You won't actually receive any cash. All you'll receive is the shirts. The cash.
And you
is
just
the
subtract it
value-
from the 130 as you get
that's
a
just the
shirt?
Value of the shirts.
Okay, because I'm not real clear on this. Obviously, this is a first for me.
Right. You won't receive any cash to go buy shirts. What you'll
Okay.
do is you'll be able to, well, we haven't done this before with the board.
Yeah.
But what typically happens with staff is Adriana will send out a link saying, okay, it's time to look at shirts. And we go to a particular company and we know our budget is 130 and we say, here's the shirts, here's the sizes. And then order within the budget of 130.
And for people that aren't aware, this is new for the board, but it's because we go to public meetings out there in the community or other communities, and other board members have nice shirts that say where they came from, and we get to wear our, little name tag.
It's a nice way to represent the.
Yeah, it's something that we've just thought would be a good thing. We want to spread the word that we're good people out there too, Thank you.
Shows unity.
Yeah, yeah.
Director Short, no comment. Just a curiosity about the safety boots, $350 for yearly for the safety boots. And there was a line or two in this documentation here indicating that there was a conference with the employees over this whole package. And so they're aware of the $350 for the safety boots.
They are, and there's no change proposed for this coming year. That's the same amount that was from last year. So.
So they are satisfied, in other words.
Show your boots.
My 2 pairs of boots with that allowance this year.
Well, what concerned me, I learned this when I watched what you guys do out there, like yesterday. And that is that you could be doing something that saturates your boots in your other clothing, and by the next day, your boots are still wet. And so the idea is that you would have a second pair of boots, and presumably this $350 allows you to have backup clothing or boots.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
We've also received boot warmers from our company, they're dryers that our boots on after that we keep it out. So if we do run across that issue, I'll put them on after a nice wet leak and they were dry in the morning when I came to work.
That's the kind of stuff these guys have to put up with.
Good.
Okay, Citizens Advisory Council Chair David Carrillo, do you have any comment on this package?
Sure, sounds good.
Well, just to add, there I was out there watching these two guys, that would be Jake and Justin, doing this valve testing stuff at all of the fire hydrants that we have, which is something like 1,600 fire hydrants, and then reporting to the state. Well, so there they are out there in the shade of my porch. It was 93 degrees. So you can imagine these guys are in the sun all day long. I mean, you literally bleach your clothing. You're in the sun so much, doing some of the field work that's out there. And it's a hard environment to work in. We all know, because you folks have been here a long time, we all know what it's like to be working outside in the warm weather in the desert. 93 was actually kind of cool compared to what it can be, or 113 sometimes. So I just think these mostly guys, I think, all guys, plus others, deserve to be supported by the board and by the community. Because without them, when you want to make coffee in the morning, there won't be any water to do it. That kind of thing. I just have a sense of gratitude for these guys, similar to what I would have for policemen or firemen or paramedics or somebody. And so I'm always going to be on their side within reason.
Here.
Hearing no other. Is there a motion from the board to adopt resolution 25-1074 approving employee compensation plan?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. General Manager Johnson, a roll call, please.
President Flowers,
Aye.
Vice President Doolittle,
Bye.
Director Fick,
Yes.
Director Jarlsberg.
Yes,
Director Short.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Motion carried.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank everyone for the work that they do. This is really hard, by the way. We are a real government agency. This isn't some private company or restaurant or something. You're a government agency, and there's very specific ways we have to do things. And this is part of it.
And we are a special district.
Why?
We're designated special district.
Designation, the type of local government, it's called a special district.
Okay.
We're elected officials up here, unless we get appointed.
It's a rock star.
Speaking of us, item D, Director Compensation, public hearing.
Oh, yeah. Yes,
You're good?
yep.
Okay. General Manager Sarah Johnson, along with legal counsel Jeff Hodgkinson, that's who's on the screen up there, by the way, in the upper left is Jeff. He's our attorney.
So thank you. This compensation topic has been brought back at the director's request. And if you recall, the director's compensation has not been increased for since 2008. So it's a very, very, very long time it's been addressed. We've had a lot of discussions about it. Jeff's going to go through a PowerPoint so you understand how the process works, and staff is in support of your decision, but we believe that you have earned this increase should you approve it. Jeff?
I am happy to take it from there. Do you want me to share my screen for the PowerPoint?
Yes, please.
Okay, perfect. I will start that right now.
Are you co-host?
It looks like it's letting me do it, so I think so.
Because
Okay. Now I can't see you directly, but I know you're still there. So, so if you can't hear me or anything, let me know. So as you know, we are on this item considering a proposal to increase compensation for the Joshua Water District Board of Directors. Currently, and I'll give you a kind of a summary before you lead into a public hearing to kind of discuss this issue. As you all know, the current rate of compensation for the directors is $173.63 per day of service, with a maximum of 10 days per month. and no more than one meeting per day. So any day you have a meeting, whether it's one meeting or two, you get compensation for, you get $173.63. That was established by the board by ordinance number 8-7, which was effective on December 1st, 2008. So as Sarah mentioned, it's been quite some time, about 17 years since you have considered any increase to that. The proposal that you're considering today, which did arrive through previous discussions with the board, is now formalized as ordinance number 25-1, and it seeks to add an additional $26.37 per day to the current compensation for a total compensation of $200 per day of service that would now apply if this is adopted. The proposal is being considered under Water Code Section 2200 and ETSEC. That provision permits, so that provision established $100 per day as the base rate, but provides for the board to be able to increase that amount by an amount not to exceed 5% for each calendar year since the last compensation adjustment, once you adopt an ordinance to change that compensation. So if you were to change the compensation today, then that would be your new base rate, and the maximum amount going forward would be 5% for each calendar year that you could consider increases if and when you do consider another ordinance like this. Under that section, since you have not increased the rate, and this is kind of rehashing issues that the board has discussed before, but if you were to follow the 5% per calendar year since 2008, the board could have considered an increase, or could still at a future date, if it doesn't change it today, consider an increase up to $379 and some change per day. We also previously discussed that consumer price data supported just on an inflation basis with CPI. If you were to take the $173.63 in 2008 and bring it to $2025, that would be $256 per day in current dollars. The board previously discussed this and decided it wanted to consider the $200 per day, which is what we are here for today. The statute does have a limitation. You can go up to no more than or a maximum of 10 days in any calendar month that can be compensated for the board. That is the limit you currently have in place in your policies. That's reflected again in this ordinance, and there is not a proposal to change that in this ordinance. So you would remain at a maximum of 10 days in any given month. Service that the directors can be compensated for does include attendance at board meetings or committee meetings, mandated conferences and trainings. And then there are some other instances based on the board policy where those have been determined to be days of service that you can be compensated for. Again, this ordinance is not proposing any changes to that policy. You are only changing the compensation that would be paid. And this also does not affect your current reimbursement for reasonable and necessary expenses under the existing board policies. This compensation does not change or affect those policies. Implementation, if you implement the increase today by adopting this ordinance 25-1, the schedule, it will affect an increase that will take effect 60 days after the passage today. So it would take effect roughly in August of 2025 is when you would see that change occur. You are required to hold a public hearing this evening to consider this ordinance. It's been scheduled for this evening. There was notice published in the High Desert Star as required by law on May 21st and May 28th. So the public did receive notice of the planned or the consideration to increase up to $200 per meeting. So you can't go any higher than that at this meeting. I know I mentioned other numbers earlier, but you're limited to the 200 that was noticed to the public, or something less obviously could also be considered as well. So it's recommended based on that. Absent any questions, it's recommended that we would open the public hearing, receive public comments. If there are any thereafter close the public hearing, and then the board can consider and discuss the ordinance as presented. And that is all I have, unless there are any questions.
Okay. Well, public hearing is now open. Do we have any public comment on us folks up here getting a raise?
So you guys chose to accept less money, you guys rounded down?
No,
We haven't.
it's $23 more.
It's an increase of $23.67 more, but it hasn't been addressed since 2008.
Okay, cause it's like $200 and something dollars and you guys wanted like $200 a day or something.
So that was what was published is $200. If it were equal compared to inflation, it would be $256.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yes, but the board asked us to post the 200.
Did you read them?
And it's per diem term, means per day. In other words, if we do 2 meetings in one day, we only get paid for one, that kind of a thing. And generally for a board meeting, for me at least, it would come out to something like $30 an hour. Like my question, if I can start.
Which is what I pay my yard guy, by the way. Anyway,
How much is in the budget now for us, and then will that change? 54.
No, the budget for 25-26 was anticipated for the increase, so I believe it was 50,051. 54.
And I think I generally make something like 7,000 a year for doing this. And I've been doing that a long time.
And how often do you guys have to go to trainings and meetings aside from this? Like, are you guys always doing things like out of a month?
I would suggest you look at the list at the end of the agenda tonight. You'll see.
You're busy, huh?
And the amount of time they spend preparing is not compensated either. So if they're preparing for a meeting, it's not compensated. So this is really a small amount of token of appreciation for the work that they have to put in.
Awesome.
And there's sometimes webinars and, things online that we do where we don't really compensate.
Conferences.
Is there a way to change that?
No, the code doesn't allow for that. There's policy and then there's water codes, so they're limited. It is an elected role and a public servant role, but it does deserve to be compensated.
just because we're using our internet, our own computers, our cell phones, all these things that are not being considered that we're funding and providing to the district for free, besides the time that we spend doing some of this stuff. And colleagues that I work with, I shared this at the last budget meeting, I was slightly humiliated because when I told them how little I make, and they're making like $400 per diem, they looked at me sadly, like I was country mouse. But I'm satisfied with at least an increase of something since 2008. Sounds like a good idea to me.
Director Fick? I'm going to close the public hearing.
Is it
Public
anywhere?
hearing.
Yes, you can close the public hearing if there's no comments. Or no further comments.
Director Fick?
Well, we've been through this quite a bit, and 200 was the agreed amount, so we're going forward with that. Even though if you include, Lisa did the averaging for most of the districts in this area, and it ended up being 191 currently, but we don't know what High Desert District gets in benefits.
Benefits, yeah.
So we don't know what that is. And we didn't include Palm Springs, which is at 420 per diem. So 200 is about a 15% increase of what we could be doing. So that was the agreed amount from the board, and we are a board.
And I don't think that we're required to increase it every year. We are allowed up to 5%, but we're not required. We're not likely to do that. Obviously, for 17 years, we haven't done it.
You can also decline. If we don't think we earn the money, we can decline it too.
Yeah,
I do it sometimes.
yeah, I do too.
And also too, we go to special events and stuff and don't even for it. Which we're gonna do next Monday.
Monday night.
We're gonna go to one in Landers. Anything further, Jane?
This is the fun part. We have fun doing this too. I mean, it's not all work. And it's nice to get compensated, I think. So on top of it, you know. That's my feeling.
Director Short.
I still, I don't think it's a matter of what we earn or what we don't. I think it's a matter of principle and, you know, we're raising people's rates every year and then we're gonna raise our own pay. It just still doesn't sit right with me personally.
Citizens Advisory Chair David Carrillo.
I think with the amount they can be making versus the amount that they're choosing to make, I think it's very reasonable. And I think that the ratepayers would be happy about that because they didn't go for the gold. But I'm really proud of them taking a lower number, just because of, you know, the area that we live in. I mean, you go down the hill and they have much bigger budgets and a lot more people and a lot more water than us. I would just say thank you. And I would say that it's very reasonable. Thank you. Thank you for serving.
Also, I think we chose a round number just to make it easier also, which I wanted to do.
It's a little bit uncomfortable when we're asking or we're approving a raise for our employees and for the directors, and we're raising the rates. So it is a little concerning to me too, that the timing of this, in other words. At any rate, without further public comment on this, is there a motion from the board to adopt ordinance 2511, increasing compensation for members of the board to $200?
Just for the record, I want to confirm you did close the public hearing, correct?
Yes,
I think I did, didn't
you did.
Yeah, and then we
I?
talked it.
Thank you though, Jeff. Don't trust me. At any rate, did we hear a motion on that?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Okay, General Manager Johnson. Roll call, please.
President Lowen,
Okay. Aye.
Vice President Doolittle,
Aye.
Director Fick,
Yes.
Director Charlesberg,
Yes.
Director Short.
No.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Motion carried. I was going to make an additional comment. I'll resist. Reports and comments, informational purposes only on subjects not covered by the agenda. Opinions of individual directors are not necessarily the opinions of the board staff. No action will be taken. The board may provide staff with requests for future agenda items. Director Doolittle.
I just wanted to say that I guess it was last week that I advised a neighbor of mine to call the district regarding a leak. And then very next day, they came out and I happened to drive by there and it was Joey and Jesus that were out there. And I went and supervised because I thought they needed a supervisor. Yeah. And I was like, I'm on the board. Here I am in shorts and all this sort of stuff. But I was just very impressed. And you guys, the data they can access, I guess maybe we were told this one time in an operations meeting, but they can access water use for daily over the past month, right?
And that's newer to us. It's something that we did report on during our meter workshop recently.
Okay.
Can I speak to them?
That's the data log device.
Okay.
We invested in one
Right.
first, and then both of these gentlemen now have their own
Okay.
device. And for the new meters, it can extract up to 45 days of usable data that we can put onto a chart. It also pulls lifetime data of, are they called alarms or alerts?
They're alarm codes.
Alarm cards, so we can see if a meter was installed in 2020 and someone had a leak 5 days in a row, we would be able to see that alarm code on that device.
Yeah, of course, I like data, but I know that there are some people that would like this data. Does the ratepayer get access to this data? So like if they wanted it?
They request it.
Okay, all right, okay. Yeah, it turns out this woman, how much was she? Was it 458 gallons a day?
It was an hour actually, yeah.
Yeah, 1 hourly irrigation, yeah,
Gallons.
yes,
Wow.
yeah.
Hour, an hour for the past.
Oh, my goodness.
And-
It shows the,
Yeah. And then, now I know that we have Joey, Jesus, Jake, and Justin. So I see all new hires in operations must have names that start with a J. Is that right?
They're not new hires, but there are a lot of J.
Yeah, I know. In the future,
Yeah, really.
they have to start with a J.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like the phrase vibe of the workplace. So hippie language is now part of the culture that we're using the word vibe in the workplace. I can't believe we're using vibe.
I'm in a woo-woo.
And then I wanted to say that the class that I did mention earlier about how special districts can find low-cost financing for energy projects. We can submit requests for financing and consulting through the CSDO website, and a consultant, the Municipal Finance Corporation, will help. The Department of Water Resources estimates $117 billion are going to be needed for over the next 10 years for water and wastewater. One thing I wanted to comment on, and I wonder if we're gonna if we leave the trucks running when the weather is not hot. I'm concerned about us leaving the trucks running, and I've heard this from other districts that they've implemented a policy. Because it seems to me if it's not really, really cold and it's not really hot and you don't need the air or the heat immediately, that the truck shouldn't be running. I don't know, but anyway, you can tell us about that. I already addressed the fuel cells. And regarding the financing, we can hire a financing team such as an independent lease arranger, and it could cost as little as 20K for that. And then obviously they give you a whole document, proposal, and they can actually help all the way through to the back end. And and then lastly, I wanted to say, Director Fick sent me a link for Cadillac Desert, which I actually had watched before in the 90s. See, I've always been interested in water. And it was on PBS, All Hail PBS, who I also used to work for. And it's now a bootleg program on YouTube. And and related to that, I recently came up, I made my own acronym, a new acronym. You guys have acronyms all the time. So for Morongo Basin Conservation Association, I made up an acronym called an IDP, Inappropriate Development Project. And that's about a lot of these projects that are out here that are inappropriate for our rural area. And it just kind of makes me think this Cadillac Desert, the beginnings of it are about how Los Angeles, they brought the Owens River to them. And, we can't imagine it right now, but there might be a time where, some habeas corpus is laid down on us. I think that's the right phrase, that says your water's got to go to help the Imperial Valley, because that's 60% of our food supply in the winter, as far as fruits and vegetables comes from there. So I just really think that we want to think about related to IDPs and also a future that we can't even imagine, some sort of policies about who this water is for. And that may not help us with the habeas corpus sledgehammer, but I just wanted to mention that, and that's all for me. Thank you.
Sorry, I missed, you said independent what?
No, it's Inappropriate Development Project. You can get it on a t-shirt if you want
Prior
to.
to that, you mentioned Cadillac Desert,
Cadillac Desert, and it's,
something before that, independent something ranger, lease ranger?
independent, well, let's see, independent Lease arranger. Yeah, an independent lease arranger. And you can find out about that through CSDA. So contact them regarding, financing for our energy, any kind of energy projects. So, and I actually took a screenshot of one of the slides I can send to you too, as far as the process.
Director Fick?
Oh, okay, several things. One is, this board, I've been overseeing this board for 35 years or so. And we have one of the most congenial boards I've ever seen. In other words, it's not infighting with the history. And so we do have a strange concept of what's called community service. Both me and VP Doolittle are board members, longtime board members of MBCA. That's where we do our community service. And, recently in the last 3 or 4 months, I put in 130 hours. She probably put in 15, 20 hours on this level project.
Anyway.
Okay, yeah, but anyway, we put in a lot of time. That's what our community service is. When we come onto this board, I have, to be a board member, you got to be over 18 in the area that you're running for. And I think you got to be a voter too. I'm not sure. Registered voter, yeah.
And a customer.
I don't know if you have to be a customer.
Yeah.
I think so.
But anyway, so those qualifications, I'm way overqualified for that. I have a history with water and this board and the general area and the regional area that I bring to this board, and she can comprehend on that. So I was going to say, that's why, we felt that it should be higher, because we're bringing a bit more expertise. Well, experience, not as necessarily expertise, but we have a lot of experience in this kind of stuff, and it helps in our decision making. She has a lot of HR background, so we'll leave it at that. And right now, this agency is the only public agency in Joshua Tree, and there's been many falterings lately by the county, and as far as communication to the public. And there's projects that we don't know about. I know about now because I have a network, but there's projects going on that this water district doesn't know about, that the county knows about, and the county is hiding information from us. We should get that information from them. I'll leave it at that.
Director Charlesburg?
Yeah, kind of ties into some of the things I was thinking about too. Unfortunately, I haven't been at any public meetings over the last couple of days. I was observing the inside of a hospital room instead, but I'm okay. I'm actually reassured about the quality of our hospital rooms these days. I did want to mention that we're planning to attend the Landers Homestead Valley Association meeting on Monday night, and that has really been standing in for me. Part of the reason I like going, standing in for the MAC that we used to have, where we did have some representation from each community that was unincorporated to the supervisors, and we have lost that since previous to the COVID. So this Landers meeting actually has a report from Glenn Harris, the field rep for Dawn Rao. Quite often Bighorn Desert View Water Agency General Manager Marina West is there giving a report. We do have a chance, if we attend, to talk about a few things that are concern us here, and also the sheriff and fire people give reports there. So if anybody's interested in learning a little bit more about what's going on in the Morongo Basin, up in Landers, it's a really informal, good neighborhood meeting, well worth going to. And they are people there, and I understand others in the community are advocating on behalf, getting the MAC started again, bringing the MAC back is now our thing that we want to say. And I agree with that. Let's see, the other thing is that I want to share this list of the meetings that we have coming up the next month or two, with you guys in the audience. But one of them was canceled, which I haven't heard about, so I wondered if somebody could tell me the Morongo Basin Pipeline Commission, which I thought was gonna be held here. I was looking forward to being there, but I didn't hear that it had been canceled or why.
Yes, MWA canceled it.
Oh, they did?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
Are we gonna get it back, you think?
Well, that's just as one meeting is canceled.
Just one meeting.
Okay,
It'll be back. It's
but it was maybe gonna be held here, which was,
not this year.
ah,
Over time.
okay. Okay, that was it. Thank you.
Director Short.
I did not attend any meetings, so I have no comment.
Just to fill in some of the blanks again, we do buy water from the state. And we paid for a pipeline that runs from Hesperia to here. And there's 4 entities that paid for it initially. It was a bond that was on our property tax bill. It's a 63-mile pipeline, and we, what is it? $776,525 budgeted for this year for water, water delivery. We have to do that because the aquifers went down about 35 feet. Everybody panicked about that. So at Yucca Valley, Landers in a small county area funded this pipeline, and that's we have meetings every other month to talk about the repair activities, pricing, and all this other kinds of stuff related to the water deliveries that we get. They're delivered to the far side of the park, this park on Sunburst. There's some recharge ponds over there. That's what that's about. And also a reminder that meeting that was discussed, this is regarding the per diem of $200 per meeting. That's an unfunded one. We're not going to get paid for going over there and doing that. And just to slightly encroach on board members' personal business, the majority of this board is living on a tight budget. And so this money that they are getting for doing this is very helpful to the majority of this board. We're not a bunch of rich folks sitting up here. Anything further, David?
I'd just like to say that unless Kathleen was gonna say anything about the tortoises being a hit over at the farmer's market.
I just got rid of them yesterday.
There were people were coming from far and wide. to see them.
Oh, definitely. It was a great conservation topic starter.
It really was. So that was a good thing for our community to come up and see and talk about conservation and even their kids something to color on and bookmarkers and stuff like that.
Kathleen Radnich is our community outreach person, so she operates a booth at the farmer's market every Saturday from roughly 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock to about 1 o'clock. So if you have any issues or questions, because the more you learn about something, the more questions you have. And so we're over there. I'm there too.
Also, too.
Yeah, I'm there too. And if you want to yell at anybody, you can don't yell at her, yell at me. I'm used to being yelled at.
If anybody yells at you, let us know.
Also, you can get some good pie over there now. General Manager's report, please.
I'm going to keep this brief. We did meet on May 29th with Jacobs. I think the third in the series of our meetings with them that's being funded by U.S. Water Alliance Technical Assistance Program. We have one more meeting. I'm trying to get them to come present to the board. Apparently it's not in the contract, so that's a little trick there, but I'm trying to make that happen. The bad news is that the pricing that we had expected is probably pretty accurate for the treatment for chromium-6, and we're looking upwards around $60 million. So.
Again, please.
That's
60
0.
million. But we're still doing more research and we're hoping, that we can bring that down. And with the work being done on well 15 and the profiling, if you want to say a little
prayer or whatever you say, the woo-woo. Let's hopefully we find some good water quality when we do that profile. That'll make a big difference for us. I wasn't going to bring this up, but we do have a little plan for a little news blast and a billing message for the rates. So that's coming up. So staff will be looking at that. And on Monday, I attended the Pelicans meeting that I know Director Fick has a penchant for wanting to be there one day. And it actually was a very good meeting. I sat with President Joe Marie McKenzie from Bighorn Desert View Water District. We had a really lovely conversation, and also sat with the field representative for Rosalie Ochoa Bow. And she is the one that helped connect us on one of our visits up there in May with Rosalia herself. And she remembered me too. So we're definitely making a presence, and I hope that that will make an impact in the future for funding. Any other votes?
Monday.
Oh, no. All right. That's the end of my report. Thank you.
As previously mentioned, future director meetings are noted on the bottom of the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn this special, it's not a special meeting, this meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Yes,
Second.
thank you very much. Meeting is adjourned at 6:54.